Boop. And here we go. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show, our Friday edition. We're on live right now, YouTube, Facebook, and our new platform, Roku TV, where we're bringing you all the updates, sports news, and we look forward to the weekend. Today on the show, folks, we have Byron Williams, our NFL analyst. We have on Keith Angle from TGI Sports Talk, and also have on the Philly Sports Guy. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, Hall of Fame legendary boxing writer himself and sports guru, Jack Hirsch. How you doing this morning, Jack?
Hey, good morning, Mac. 2 shows yesterday, 1 today. I mean, we're working. We're busy, Mac.
Yes, we are. And, of course, we're making the big money, Jack. So, our contracts with Northeast Streaming Sports, we're going to have to renegotiate if we're going to do this many
Contract is a contract, Mac. That's what you always tell me.
That's true. But I think we got to go in there and do something, Jack. It's getting very busy here. And, ESPN cut back some announcers and they put them harder to work. But I imagine their agents did a little bit of renegotiating for all the times they're on. So let's get to the 2 biggest sports stories in sports today, not counting the NFL's playoffs and all that stuff, just kind of side stories. It seems that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers finally officially released Antonio Brown. He fired out some Texas, kind of attacking the head coach, Bruce Arians. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, and his trainer. Let me get the name right here. It's Guerrero, Alex Guerrero. And he claims that Guerrero was given $100,000 for training, which he never followed up on. He never worked with him. And meanwhile, he's texting, about Ben Roethlisberger, and he's texting about other players and other teams very nicely. So I don't know if he's trying to appease these other teams, trying to get in with him. But I'm telling you, Jack, if I was a team, and whether Arians was right or wrong to put him in, I sure wouldn't want any of that in my clubhouse.
Thank you, Mac. Antonio Brown has no credibility. I mean, this is a guy who was suspended 3 games for lying as far as saying he was vaccinated, producing a fake ID card. He's had all these past issues. I mean, not just on the field, off the field. People forget Bruce Arians has a history with Antonio Brown at Pittsburgh. Bruce Arians was an assistant coach there for a few years when Antonio Brown was on the team. He didn't even want Antonio Brown on the Buccaneers in the beginning because he was a diva. He was an eye guy. He didn't feel he was good for the team, but because of the power that Tom Brady wielded, Bruce Arians gave in. And Antonio Brown, to his credit, during the Super Bowl run last year, was a model citizen, and Bruce Arians gave him his due. He complimented him. And even though last year Antonio Brown came on a no-tolerance policy, he, fit the bill. He was a great citizen. So this year was a new year. So that no tolerance was over with because that it's a year-to-year thing in reality. And what Antonio Brown did, taking his shirt off, making a big fuss, it's just trouble for any team. Antonio Brown has, we feel he has issues. What type of issues? We're not sure exactly what it is, but sometimes we feel it's a mental health issue, and it might not even be a mental health issue. It might be a behavior issue. Sometimes when we think it's a behavior issue, it's a mental health issue, okay? Some people say they go hand in hand. But in any event, you can't have Antonio Brown on your team, anyone going forward, because you're really asking for trouble. But this is the NFL. If one team feels he could push them over the top, get them to the Super Bowl, he's in play. But if I think now with Antonio Brown, Mac, this is a question of damage control. After he acted up, he sees how much this is damaging to his NFL career and that no team might take him again. So he's trying to battle back and create a scenario maybe to get back in the NFL. And maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But look at the problems Tampa Bay now has with him having to answer all these questions. I mean, does another team really want to go through this? But let me just wrap it up. Was it worth it for Tampa Bay in the long run? It actually was. They did win a Super Bowl. He caught a touchdown pass. So on the field, he did get the job done for them. But now the repercussions of everything else are coming into play.
I mean, I agree with almost everything you said. And, Antonio Brown, I was reading, took a big hit. I mean, if he had so many more yards, which was in reach, he would have got a $330,000 bonus. If he caught one more TD, he would have got $333,000. So he shot himself in the foot again, like he did with the Raiders with that big contract he got, and he just decided to pull out on him.
That's right, Mac. Let me just cut in 1 second. The Raiders offered him a big contract. He was getting a lot less to play with Brady in New England and then Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. So from a business aspect, it was a terrible blunder, him leaving the Raiders, because John Gruden was all in with Antonio Brown. Mm-hmm. He was getting big money. He could have still been on the Raiders. He wouldn't have gotten the Super Bowl win there, but Antonio Brown would have, been the lead receiver. Then he had a Super Bowl to his credit in the past, with the Steelers.
Sure. And who knows, if he was there with the Raiders and he stayed there this year, maybe they wouldn't have to win one game to get in. Maybe they would have won a couple games, right? So, I mean, it's just to me, this guy, it's been alleged, and he's been in charge of assaults and as out of the game, and the whole ID thing, and his agent kind of jumped out back on the Bucks for damage control of what happened, which I still don't agree with, if true. And if it is what it is, Jack. I mean, you got guys like this. And speaking of people that may have said something that might end up getting them kicked out of their job, a 20-year Washington Wizards broadcaster, Glenn Connor, came under fire after a comment on a design play to Kevin Porter Jr., who made the bucket. And Connor said, like his dad, Kevin Porter pulled the trigger at the right time. Now, Kevin Porter's dad went to jail for shooting a young teenage girl. And he went there, I think it was in 1993. Yes, it was. Then he was shot and killed years later trying to help a woman who was attacked at a bar. So with that comment and what would happen with his dad, it seemed like the comment might have been a little out of line, but LeBron James jumps all over this. He's calling for him, not to be in the basketball anymore. He thinks, what do you think? This is a cool pun. Like I said, there's no place for him in this game. And turns out, now this is Connor's reply to that. Connor said he thought Porter was the son of Kevin Porter, former Washington Bullets player who had a career there, 4 years anyway, with Washington. Now, I don't know what to believe here, Jack, because if you've been a Wizards commentator for that long, you might know the history of the players. You might not, but you might, because it's part of your job. You're fully vested in this team. So I'm not sure if I believe him or not. It sounds plausible. It sounds possible. I just don't know. The interesting thing to me is we know Michael Jordan owns the Wizards. And Michael Jordan doesn't follow what people say.
No, Michael Jordan owns the Charlotte. He used to play for the Wizards. He played for the Wizards when he came out of retirement.
My bad. You are correct. He played for the Wizards. The interesting thing to me, as I misspoke, is what the Wizards owner will do.
We should fire you, Mac, maybe. I'm calling for you to get fired.
But But the point of the matter is, Jack, I mean, who do you believe? Do you believe that this Connor guy didn't know that his father went to jail for shooting somebody? Or do you believe that he did and said it anyway?
Let me tell you something. You take a broadcaster, he's been with the team for over 20 years. Has he ever made a controversial remark in all that time? Why in his right mind would he deliberately say something that mean? It's obvious he wouldn't do that, saying he should have pulled the trigger like his father. He should have murdered someone like his, he should have shot someone like someone else's father. He's not going to say that deliberately. It's an innocent mistake. Kevin Porter, the same name played for the Wizards before that. So it's an easy mistake. Look, I was watching Sunday Night Baseball. On Sunday Night Baseball, no, I take that back. I'm sorry. WFAN it was. One of the late night broadcasters, not Tony Page, by the way, not Tony, was talking about the Boston Red Sox manager, Joe Morgan. And he was comparing the time when Joe Morgan played for the Cincinnati Reds in the World Series, and now he's with the Boston Red Sox, or something to that effect. But it wasn't the same Joe Morgan. It was a different Joe Morgan, but he assumed the name Joe Morgan in a high-profile position. And it was an innocent mistake by the broadcaster. He said it. Why on earth would he say anything so mean-spirited? It's an obvious Kevin Porter played for the Washington Wizards in the past, and now you have Kevin Porter there again. And so many times we have sons and fathers like Tim Hardaway and guys like that, where father, son, and in an innocent mistake. Listen, this isn't the first time LeBron has spoken too quickly. There's been other things where really he should have gotten called out on by the league, but because he's LeBron James, he can get away with it. This is not to say LeBron's heart isn't in the right place, but once again, LeBron spoke out too soon, and he's basically slandering a broadcaster who apologized when he realized his mistake. The broadcaster wants to reach out to Kevin Porter, and it's obvious it was an innocent mistake made. And the broadcaster went on an assumption that a lot of other people would have gone on, and probably was thinking there's a link that this Kevin Porter is, the son of the other Kevin Porter. It's a mistake.
Well, I mean, Jack, I pretty much agree with what you say, but don't you think if you are the lead broadcaster for a basketball team, baseball team, whatever, don't you think it's your job to know that Kevin Porter Jr. is not the son of Kevin Porter, the former Washington Bullet? I mean, wouldn't you think that's your job?
Yes.
So I understand that could be an error, but maybe it's not. See, I don't know. You say
no, it's sloppy. It's sloppy work, Mac. You're right. It's his job to know that. He should be talking with the players, asking. He should have seen this Kevin Porter and saying, "Oh, what have you learned from your dad? This and that." And then it would come out in conversation. No, my dad's not that Kevin Porter. Right. And then the whole error would have been avoided. He assumed it was the same Kevin Porter. Analysts like that should be talking to the players a lot, doing their homework. So if anything, he's guilty of not really being as meticulous as he should have been doing his job. But what he did, it wasn't mean-spirited, okay? It was just an unfortunate mistake. He's owing up to it. He feels terrible about it. He says he's going to be talking to Kevin Porter about it. Yeah. What was said, and you take a person's intent is what you should always take. And the intent definitely wasn't to say anything negative that could possibly be hurtful to the player.
Well, at least I hope that's the case, and that he didn't just take the pun of shooting And he knew that. I mean, I don't know for sure. I would agree with you. I agree that I don't think anybody in their right mind would do that, especially with the way, society is now about speaking politically correct. That would be way down on or way up on the chain of something you shouldn't say. But again, Jack, the only thing I'm saying is that, and you said he's maybe not doing his job. That's your job. You got to know the history. You got access to the locker room. You got access to the coaches. You got access to the players. And Kevin Porter is an exciting player. And I
Mac,
think
I'm going to give you an example. Let's talk about football. Let's say during the height of the protests with George Floyd, let's say there's an NFL game and we're broadcasting the game and a team should be running out the clock. They hand the ball off. And I'm critical, and I'm saying, for example, why are they taking that chance? They should just take a knee. You always take a knee in that situation. People might come back and say, how insensitive can you be? But that's a football term that's used all the time. You take a knee, you run the clock out. That's the intent. But someone might say, well, during this sensitive time, you should know a lot better. Fire him.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean,
it's possible, Jack. You're possibly right. So let's hit the NHL scores real quick before Byron Williams, who's due to come in about 8:30. We'll start talking about NFL playoffs and all kinds of good stuff with him because there's still some things that are up in the air. But in the NHL, Calgary beats Tampa Bay 4-1. Pitt, the Penguins are hot as heck, Jack, right now. They beat the Flyers. I think it's their 10th straight game. It's something like that. 6-2. The Sharks beat the Sabres 3-2. The Wild beats the Bruins 3-2. The Devils beat the Blue Jackets 3-1. The Stars beat the Panthers 6-5. Avalanche over the Jets 7-1. The Coyotes beat Chicago 6-4. The Knights put it on the Rangers 6-1. And the Predators beat the Kings 4-2.
Let me just say something about the Tampa Bay Lightning. The last I looked, they were on top of the NHL standings by 1 point. Maybe they lost it last night. Rangers lost as well, so they were a point behind. If they win the Cup this year, they three-peat.
Yeah.
3 championships in a row. So we can then call them, if not now already, the greatest team in team sports. Really, if they three-peat 3 in a row, I mean, no other team in any other league, baseball, football, basketball, would be considered as strong of a team as the Tampa Bay Lightnings because they've already won back-to-back cups. And imagine they do it 3 years in a row. That's the closest thing to a dynasty we've had in sports really in a while. And the thing about Tampa Bay, they're a rarity, the city, because their hockey team, the Lightning, is actually more popular than the baseball team, the Rays. The Buccaneers are the most popular team in Tampa Bay. Then it's the Lightning, then it's the Rays. I've been in Tampa Bay. I've witnessed the fever that the Lightning, cause there. Pete, they're actually very popular in a warm weather city like Tampa Bay.
Yeah, well, I didn't the Bulls three-peat, Jack? No.
Oh, that was a while ago. I'm saying the first time in a while.
Yeah. You're saying the greatest in history.
About
I thought you said the greatest in history and the only team that's
No. That would be the New York Yankees. I mean, yeah, if I had to go there, like 14 pennants, 16 years, I could say New England had a dynasty in the sense that they would always be winning the AFC East, always be getting in the playoffs the way they have over a couple of decades. So that kind of is like a dynasty in a way. But when we think of dynasties, Mac, we think of a team that wins it all, okay? They have to win that championship, really, I think, to have the dynasty stamp on them. Or if they go, let's say, to a championship game, 5 out of 6 years they go to the finals and they win it 3 years out of the 6, but they've won 5 out of 6. We could start talking like a dynasty during their era if they do that. Look, the Buffalo Bills won 4 years in a row, but they didn't have a dynasty. They just had a foothold on the AFC.
No, I guess you could say they had a dynasty in the AFC at that time.
They had a dynasty within their own patch, within their own frame of land.
Yes, I would agree with that. So Byron Williams should be coming in here shortly. So he normally pops in early. And we can start a little bit without him because there's a lot of interesting games this week, Jack, that will affect whether a team gets in and seeding to a point. I'm looking right now at the Patriots in Buffalo. That division title is still on the line. If Buffalo, by some chance, which I don't think will happen, loses, and the Patriots beat Miami, the Patriots still could win that division because they will be 11-6, and the Bills would be 10-7. That's the biggest movement that I see in the seeding process. I mean, we got a bunch of things that could happen this week, and not a bunch, but quite a few. But the biggest one is Buffalo, and I think Buffalo is playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't expect
Buffalo's playing the Jets.
The Buffalo's playing the Jets. You are correct.
Right.
I don't expect the Jets to win, but if they did, what is it? Maybe, I don't know, 100-1. If they did, and they've been playing pretty well lately, if they got a couple breaks and beat the Bills, and the Patriots win, Patriots have won the division this year, and that's pretty crazy, Jack.
I'm going to tell you, the Patriots' schedule is weird with the Dolphins. They played the Dolphins the first game of the year in New England, and the Dolphins won. And then the Dolphins lost 7 games in a row. And then they won 7 in a row, and then they lose 1 game and out of the playoffs. Talk about digging a hole, trying to get out of a hole and having no room to spare. So they're playing the Patriots their first game of the year, and now they're playing at home in Miami the last game. What's at stake for the Dolphins? There's something at stake. They're 8-8. It's a matter of pride, wanting to have a winning record. There's a difference between being 8-9 and 9-8. At least the mindset. You end the year 9-8, and you can say, we had a winning record. We're a good team. We just had a bad streak in the beginning of the year. But the real us is the team that showed up the second half. Okay? And the Jets, if I'm going to make a case for the Jets, let me say, if they play the way they did against Tampa Bay last week, they have a shot at beating Buffalo, actually, because I could say Tampa Bay is a better team than Buffalo, and if they came that close to beating Tampa Bay, and let's face it, Buffalo, they haven't really asserted themselves as a powerhouse. They lost what I considered, and it didn't turn out to be a must game when they were at Buffalo, when they played New England at Buffalo with all the windy conditions. They won the rematch. But, they played the Falcons last week. And if Buffalo really has it together as a powerful team, they would have run over the Falcons. But they won by a couple of touchdowns, decisively enough. But Buffalo still, is showing some signs. Their passing game hasn't been up to snuff. Their running game has been erratic, where Josh Allen has had to do a little more than he should, especially with his legs. That opens him up to injuries. Let's see which Jet team shows up. If this Jet team is truly improving and truly on an upswing, it's possible they might do what Miami did to New England last year. New England had to beat Miami the last game of the regular season to get a bye. This was 2 years ago. I'm sorry, when Tom Brady was there 2 years ago. And Miami goes into New England and beats them the last game of the season, with nothing at stake for Miami but pride, and everything at stake for New England having that bye. So who knows what could happen. But the division is on the line, basically. But Buffalo's going to be in the playoffs, and New England's going to be in the playoffs. It's a question of who wins the division, bragging rights. And believe me, both want that division.
And where they'll play, too, right, Jack? So if New England does win and Buffalo loses, the game will be in New England, whichever game is played. So, I mean, there is that. The thing I don't agree with you is saying that, well, the Jets play good against Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay is better than Buffalo. Those are separate games, and I think that when you play a certain team, it's all about matchups. Tampa Bay doesn't really see Buffalo. Tampa Bay really doesn't see the Jets. Buffalo does. Buffalo knows the Jets know Buffalo. and it's all about matchups, team versus team. So when you try to compare one team being a little bit better than the other, it really doesn't work out, because we do that a lot. We say, well, the Chargers beat Kansas City, that first time, so they're really good, and then we find out that maybe they're not really that good right now because Kansas City is a great team. So it's hard to make a comparison when they're playing against other teams. That's all I'm saying. So listen, if the Jets play well, they get a few turnovers, they have a chance. And Miami sure has a chance against New England. So it's going to be really interesting to see what pans out for the division over there.
Well, let me ask you this, Mac. When Robert Saleh had head coach, he called out his offensive coordinator, LaFleur, basically, for that last possession, well, next to last possession of the game, they got the ball back with a few seconds when they had 4th and 2 on the, Tampa Bay 7-yard line, and they went for it. Rather than go for a field goal to go up 7, he recognized Tom Brady could bring the Buccaneers back and get a touchdown and at least get a tie, maybe go for the 2-point conversion, which they actually did late on, and win the game. So he tried to ice the game right there. And LaFleur, he said, botched the play up because the play was supposed to be a reverse to Berrios, who was having a heck of a game. And that would have caught the Tampa Bay defense probably off guard, be a little bold on that play. But they went for quarterback sneak on 4th and 2. To me, that's a horrendous call, 4th and 2, a quarterback sneak, especially when the defense is playing up front and tight the way Tampa Bay was to prevent the run. Horrendous call. But supposedly that was the second option if they were going to play a little loose. And LaFleur now is owning up to it. But I think after the way Saleh attacked them, Saleh was totally disgusted. Do you think it's okay for a head coach to call out his offensive coordinator that way? Because it is a bit humiliating. I think it is actually okay. Because if I feel one of my assistant coaches cost us the game, I want him to be accountable like a player. But then on the other end, you want the coaches to be united. You don't want that division in the coaching staff. What do you think?
Well, 2 quick thoughts before we bring Byron up. One, if I had Josh Allen as a quarterback, I might not have a problem calling a quarterback sneak. It depends on who the quarterback is. But the 2 things I want to say: one, if they kicked the field goal, they would have tied the game and it might have gone in overtime. And 2, the head coach has the last say. And if he doesn't, then the problem isn't with what the play was called. The problem is that the communication between the head coach and offensive coordinator is not there, and that's Saleh's fault. Let's bring up Byron Williams, our NFL analyst, star wide receiver for the New York Giants, played on a few NFL teams, World Football League, CFL. He's been all around football, and that's why we have him in here. Let's bring up Byron. How you doing today, Byron?
Hey, good morning. How you guys doing?
Good morning. Good morning. I love them 3 Super Bowl trophies in the background. The replicas are not actually the Super Bowl trophies, people, because Byron would be in a lot of trouble if he actually had the Vince Lombardi Award behind him. But it still looks really good. Reminds me of some good days. Anyway, Byron, let's start off. Me and Jack started talking about the playoff picture, the seedings and games that decided. And we got a little bit into it with Buffalo and the Pats. But I want to talk about the 2 teams that still have to get in the playoffs, period, right? The 7th seed is at hand. You've got a direct one with the Chargers and the Raiders. Whoever wins that game is the 7th seed. Whoever loses that game goes home. What are your thoughts on the Chargers and the Raiders?
Yeah, it's gonna be a great game. I think if Derek Carr can throw over 300 yards, he's been 6-0 all season when he have a game throwing the ball well, and the receivers are on the same page with him. They playing at home, so it's gonna be a big week. I know they're gonna be doing a lot of John Madden activities and celebrations. I think it's somebody's lighting that torch out there. So the Raiders and the fans gonna be pumped up. So it's gonna be a good game. Also, I know if the Chargers have a better chance of probably winning the game and probably be favorite in that game, but it's gonna be a good game. It's gonna be it's gonna be a hard fought game because the winner go to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, how could you ask for anything better for last game if you love football, right?
Yeah.
In the NFC now, in the NFC, you've got the 49ers playing the Rams, a rivalry. I think the 49ers won last game.
Right.
And if they beat the Rams, they're in. So they got the control of destiny in their own hands. If they lose, they got to wait on New Orleans and Atlanta to play and hope Atlanta beats New Orleans. Because if New Orleans wins and the 49ers lose, believe it or not, the Saints are the 7th seed.
Yeah, exactly. So, the 49ers, they always match up well against the against the Rams. And so the 49ers is playing good football. They just, the quarterback situation maybe have been resolved a little bit. And if that they go in there and play error free. And, I just like the coach for the 49ers. And I like the chances for the 49ers.
Wait, Byron, you say the quarterback situation's been resolved. I don't understand it. Tell me how it's been resolved.
It's been a conflict all year, but I know Trey Lance played the last game, right?
Yeah.
So
who's going to play if Garoppolo's able to go Sunday? Who is going to be the quarterback?
You have to go with Falopia. You have to go with the experienced quarterback, I think.
Garoppolo, right. But normally teams, when they draft a guy that high and they give up a lot to get him, they look for an excuse to turn the page. And this is a perfect excuse to move forward with Trey Lance if they thought he was good enough. So maybe Trey Lance isn't all they thought he'd be when they drafted him. What do you think?
Yeah, man, I think they like him, and I think they're excited about him. But I don't think he's just not quite ready. He's just a first year player. I just think he needs more reps, more time, more experience. And I think there was a good year for him to watch and see and discover the speed of the game in the National Football League. So I think in a year or so he'll be ready to go. I just think Aaron Rodgers didn't play into his third year. So I just think it's one of those type situations.
Yeah, Brett Favre. No one was going to play, what Brett Favre is the start.
Yeah, I understand that. But I just think for a lot of players, for majority of the players that come into the National Football League, they're not quite ready, to come in and take, especially a quarterback, to take the game to another level. Just look at Trevor Lawrence. He was superstar in college, and he's so right now this year. I mean, just look at him. So I'm just thinking that it take a while, and maybe Trey Lance is maybe a year away. But he came in and played well last week.
Yeah, after you found out that Kittle was the best guy to throw to on the field, it took him
exactly. And you got to be able to throw 10 balls to him a game. I mean, that's the key. Look at Kansas City.
It took a little while. I don't know where he was the whole year, but it took a little while. Byron, you're 100% right. It depends on the situation, right? For quarterbacks, if you're playing, if you come in and you like Mac did playing for the Patriots, they got a solid team and he can be successful there. Even with Patrick Mahomes, he went to a team, that was a competitive team, but by the end of the year they let him play that last game, but they still sat him out, behind Smith, which Smith was a very good quarterback, playoff team. So, if you're a first string quarterback like Wilson, Trey Lance, even the quarterback of Chicago, the rookie quarterback, I got a quick Fields, I think it is.
Justin
Fields.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But let Mac.
But let me finish, Jack. But if you go into something like that situation where it's the team is not all together, and even if Fields has played pretty good, still that team is not together yet. It's so hard for a quarterback. I remember Phil Simms. We interviewed Phil Simms, Byron, and he told me he won the first 6 games, or helped win the first 6 games, I should say, as a rookie. And then they kind of fell off. And he said, honestly, don't take it the wrong way, I just wanted the season to be over. You want to win, but that first year was so tough, and he played as a rookie. He said, I just wanted the season to be over and let me regroup. Yeah,
and I think that depends on your linemen and your running backs and the type of receivers that you have as well. But especially and plus being a first year player, the season seems long. I mean, it's a long grind. I mean, you got a lot more, weeks to continue to practice and play. And so these guys got to get adjusted to all that. And I keep saying the speed of the game, they have to adapt to that. And then they see so many different schemes for us rushing. The defense is coming in and they creating these sacks and things, pocket presence and things like that. So it's really a hard fit to just come in and be real successful as a first-year player in the National Football League on all levels in any position, but extremely hard for the quarterbacks.
Just a quick thought for the lesser players, like the special team players predominantly, the backups. Are they allowed, does the NFL allow them to play in the new league, the USFL? The USFL has a 10-game schedule. They're in the spring. It could actually help their game, but I guess they're not allowed, I guess. They're not
going to be allowed. They tried that with the World League, NFL Europe, and they did that with some of the players, and which was good for a lot of the players because they got a chance to play more and get the experience on a different level. But the USFL is going to be completely different, I think, and it's going to be, but it's going to be good for the football players. We have so many football players they're trying to play. I mean, I got calls this week about a couple of players asking me about playing. I said, you got to have an agent. Certain things need to be in place for you in order to get into that on the football field. And I had another guy was 28 years old and trying to go to the NFL. I said, it ain't gonna happen. Realistically, maybe Canada, this USFL league, but these guys still hold on to their dreams, and unfortunately, a lot of guys, when you get 28 years old, you need to start trying to use your degree.
Let me just cut in. This is interesting, Mac, too. Baseball, I know years ago had open tryouts. Does the NFL ever allow that? Just have a tryout day, like they at college, like walk-ons. Just come, get on the field, and once in a while you could catch lightning in a bottle and get this guy who's can really.
The games have changed so much with the social media, the scouting department, all the information they have. They have all this. They have a list of players, that's on the board that they interested in, that fit what they're looking for. And then this past year with the COVID, they had a lot of players in Indianapolis. Pool of players that you make sure that they was tested and in shape, and they had a pool of players that the NFL teams could draw from because of the limitation of players coming in. You just can't bring players into the locker room, into the facility like they used to because of COVID. So there's so many different things that they did this year that a lot of people don't understand. But they got a list of players that they definitely want to pull from. And another thing that they do, they pull from players that's on the practice roster. That the Giants did it with Fromm, the quarterback from Georgia. So I mean, it's different case scenarios on how they bring players in and who they look for.
Byron, they do have tryouts in the beginning of the year. I mean,
for who? For who?
Well, Cruz got a tryout. Rocky Thompson got a tryout.
Not this day and time. I'm saying.
I'm saying that they do. From what I understand, there is still tryouts, but not with COVID anymore. I understand.
Yeah, they still have tryouts, but they don't have it like they used to.
Open, I agree.
Cruz got a tryout because of the pro day. I mean, he had a good pro day too, and they like that his stock went up as a pro day. Kind of got on the list, and then they signed him. Based off of because some schools still go to the colleges and do pro days.
Right. I agree with that. I'm just saying that there is maybe not the way it was. I remember Washington Redskins used to open up to the public and whoever came in, way back when George Allen was the coach. That's how they got Rocky Thompson in there. So there was actually open to the public, come on in and try out. I don't think it's set up the same way as it was back then, no doubt.
Good point, Mac. Rocky Thompson, he was lightning quick.
Yeah, he was. Talk about old school. I mean, never mind. Anyways, so let's take a look at the seedings right now, and they could change, Byron. Right?
Yeah.
In the AFC, let me see if I got this right. Yes, the Titans are number one seed. They play the Texans, who have been playing really good ball lately. In fact, they beat the Tennessee Titans. But Derrick Henry is back. They should win that game, right, Byron? They should stay at number one.
They should, yeah. I mean, that they going down at yeah. They definitely should win that game. I think they shouldn't have no problem with the Texans. But but the last week, you're gonna have some players still fighting for jobs for next year.
I agree, man. I agree. Listen, I definitely wouldn't take the Texans lightly at all if I was going down there. The Chiefs played Denver. They're the number 2 seed. They should beat Denver again, and that should be 1 and 2 should be locked up.
Right.
But then the question becomes Cincinnati, Cleveland. Cincinnati sitting in the 3rd seat. Cleveland, even without Baker Mayfield, the backup quarterback there, I got a brain freeze. But anyway,
Case Keenum.
Thank you, Jack. His record is just as good as Mayfield's when he plays. And Cleveland, for some reason, is a bad matchup for Cincinnati. For some reason, they always get Cincinnati with that running game and defense. What do you think? Do you think the Browns will be in how do I want to say this? Enthusiastic, because they weren't last week. Do you think that they'll be pumped up to beat Cincinnati and knock them out of the 3rd seed?
I think they should. I think I would look forward to Cleveland trying to win that game. But I just think that just looking at Cleveland, they've just been up and down all year. They got a lot of great players, Nick Chubb and those guys. Just some great talent. Myles Garrett. So I just think Cleveland gonna definitely try to win because it's always a battle in the Ohio State with those 2 teams since the beginning.
You're going to like this. They're a great rookie. The Bengals' great rookie, Jamar Chase, is something like about 56 yards, approximately away from a rookie record for a receiver that was set in 1960. And the Bengals are going to want him to break the record, but Joe Burrow isn't going to be playing that game. That's going to be a tough 56 yards to gain. I guess they're going to try to spring him on one long pass to basically do it. And they're trying to rest him for the playoffs. What a balance, trying to get him the record. And that could, the coaching staff can't be too happy about that scenario because 56 yards might not sound like a lot. But when you have a backup and you don't have Joe Burrow and you have someone throwing to him you're not used to, it's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah, I agree with you. No doubt. And but 56 yards against in Cleveland, they gonna be challenge them. Plus you don't know what the weather's gonna be like. At least I don't. But I think 56 yards is maybe 2 to 3 throws a completion to him, and then maybe they'll sit him down.
Denzel Ward might be on him to make it extra hard. I don't know. So yeah,
absolutely.
Jack brought up a bigger point than whether this guy gets his yardage or not. Without Burrows playing.
Well, Byron was a nice guy as a receiver.
Well, no, Byron is one of the most team-oriented players I've ever talked to. So not only is Burrows not playing, right, but neither is Dixon. So I mean, that is going to hamper Cincinnati's ability to move the ball too, Byron.
Yeah, exactly right. And but I think too the way you look at it and the way coaches approach these games like that is the next player up. Some guys need more reps. We want to make sure we got a question mark on one player to see if he can actually come in and be an adequate, bring some spark to our team as well. So maybe that may be something that they're talking about. But these games are always talked about in practice, in the film room, and things like that. So I think that's an extra incentive for a lot of players. And this week, a lot of players are playing for the incentives for the offseason. So some guys gonna get bonuses if they play number of plays, 75% of the time, 25% of the time. So those things gonna be in the equation as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. The most interesting scenario to me, besides the Bengals and the Browns, is the Patriots and Buffalo are tied for first. Buffalo plays the Jets. The Jets played pretty well last week. Buffalo has been up and down sometimes. And then you got the Pats against the Dolphins. And listen, I wouldn't be surprised if Miami beats the Patriots. I mean, that's not, that's not impossible. So if the Dolphins, beat the Patriots are, just a wild card team. But if Buffalo loses to the Jets and the Patriots win, the Patriots win the division title, Byron.
Yeah. And I have seen and noticed that Buffalo have played some games this year that they let themselves down. And but they playing at home. I think the fans gonna be there, pack the stands, and I don't see Buffalo losing to the Jets, but I do see the Jets playing hard. I mean, the Jets been playing. They should have easily beat the Bucks last week, and they was in a position to win that game. And so, I think the Jets. One thing you can always say about the Jets, they play with pride. They're gonna play hard, and you got to play a perfect game to beat the Jets, because right now, the coaches and everybody is looking at what we're going to do next year. We're going to build up on, and a lot of these players are playing for their jobs for next year. Yeah. And if you got about 20 to 30 players that's going to be playing hard football this Sunday.
It's funny, Byron. You're a Giant at heart always. Mac is a Giant fan. I'm a Jet fan. And looking at our teams, I give the Jets an A for effort. I have no complaints about their effort. But if you and Mac would look in the mirror at one another, and talk about the Giants' effort, no way you give them an A for effort this year. Just no way.
No way. I agree totally with you. I give them a D. The Giants just, they just seem like they lost all sense of playing the game. And I don't. We talked about this all year. Who are the leaders? Who can rally the troops and say, hey, this, and then it takes preparation all week. You got to constantly remind yourself that you just don't go out there and go through the motion of playing the game, and you got to have some people to step up, and you have to create some type of chemistry, and you can always say, I can depend on you, and I don't see nobody going in and getting each other's face and hold each other accountable. And off the field, a lot of things that need to be said, and inside that locker room, a lot of things need to be done. So, game preparation, how much film, are you coming in early? Just a little thing have gone by the waste, I think, that we used to do with the Giants that I think not happening. You got coaches, just not even, when you come off the football field, you got to huddle up all the receivers, and you got to talk about this, that, and the other. Who gonna make the big plays? Who gonna turn the game around? And we played great defense back in the day. Right now you just got guys like they going through the motion, filling the gaps, and not doing the thing.
Byron, you and Mac would know better than myself, but the next man up mentality, I think that has to do with performance on the field. When it comes to leadership, it's not next man up. When the Giants lost Blake Martinez to injury, I think that was a loss no one talks about. I think that was a devastating loss because he provided the type of leadership unlike any other player on the team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you lose somebody like that, but still Blake Martinez needs to be on the sideline. He needs to be in the practice through the week. He needs to still be present. And then we got to, like I said, the next man up. And of course, I just think, just think about the day when I played with Harry Carson, those guys. I mean, he was always holding the players accountable. I'm on offense, and I call a pass and spike the ball, and first thing Harry Carson said, we don't play like that. That's not who we are. And we got to be reminded. The players know who the leaders on the team, but like I said, who are the leaders on the Giants team? I can't, I don't see it. I don't know how to see that like we had back, with the tradition that the Giants
had. You can't provide the same.
Wait, Jack. Let's move on. Let's move on from the Giants so we can finish up this thing, because I don't really want to talk about the Giants right now, to be honest. So in NFC, Byron, we got Green Bay at number 1 seed. That's wrapped up. Cowboys can move up depending on if other teams lose. I think they're sitting in the 4th right now. The Bucs play the Panthers, right? And I don't think the Bucs will have a problem with that. Dallas plays the Eagles. The Eagles are killed by COVID right now. I expect the Cowboys to at least win this game. And right now it's the Rams that are playing the 49ers. If they lose, that might affect their standings too, or seeding to the Cowboys. You see pretty much finishing up like this. Maybe the Rams losing, moving a seed down if they lose to the 49ers.
Yeah, I do see that, and I think they had here in Dallas, they had Tyron Smith, Brown, the defensive back, and Michael Parsons yesterday tested positive for COVID. So they might have some players that ain't going to be able to play as well. So it's going to be one of those chess matches with the Eagles and the Giants. And plus, all the teams in the NFC East, they hate each other. So I expect a good game. And but the Cowboys do need to win. I don't know if the Cowboys, either one, if they play the Rams or if they play the Cardinals, it ain't going to be no easy first game in the playoff for them, regardless of the situation. So I just think that you guys got to let things happen the way they should, but still at the end, you have to play to win the games. And you have to keep that momentum going into the playoff. I think going into the playoffs, the biggest advantage that any team will have if you go into the playoff with a win. I think you have a little bad taste in your mouth if you lose. Then you got a playoff game going into the playoffs. So I think if I was a coach and if I was a player, I would want to win the game regardless. And who I would play. But we're going into the playoff with a win and going to the playoff with more momentum on the winning side of things.
Me and Jack kind of got not an argument, but we kind of got in a little debate of which team in the NFC was Super Bowl ready, Super Bowl or bust. Jack tried to say that the Rams are built for this year and they're Super Bowl ready. And of course, I countered with, well, I think the Bucs are ready. I think the Cowboys are ready. And of course, Green Bay's ready. I don't care what moves you make during the season. It depends on the chemistry, health, momentum. And I don't care what team you are. I don't care if you're even a wild card team. To me, Super Bowl ready is very, is out there. I mean, it's like out there in the air. What does that mean? So, I mean, I could see any of the four division teams winning, at least going to the Super Bowl, and a couple of the wild cards might have a chance if they get hot.
Yeah, and I'm always reminded too that you have to, I just think going into the playoff, you have to have a lot of things, going. And this year, these teams got to deal with this COVID issue. I think that's going to be the factor that's going to affect maybe some teams that, catch you off guard. And I just think if I was a coach and I was general manager, I would try to at least have my players and the coaching staff isolate themselves, do whatever they need to do, because this really have affected this whole season, the COVID issue with the testing and stuff. And I just think, you can't have your key players not playing. So I think this is a whole case scenario of maybe we need to isolate our team and certain things that we got to, do just to get in a position to win these games and have a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
My fear is right before a big playoff game, a star quarterback on one of the teams is going to be pulled out by the NFL because of COVID concerns. I mean, these playoff game isn't like the regular season, where you can maybe get by now and then without a star player. But for the playoffs, I think a potential mess is there. And if no one gets held back because of COVID, what is that going to tell you? Is the league having two sets of rules, playoffs, regular season? I mean, I could foresee a messy situation come playoff time.
Yeah, I totally agree. And no doubt every team been affected by this testing, this people getting this virus. So something happens. You have to be smart about it.
Byron, there's a possibility the Super Bowl comes up and COVID hits one of the quarterbacks. There's a possibility of that. And that would be crazy. So
that would be crazy. And they're talking about maybe having the possibility of playing the game here in Texas, the Super Bowl. Can you imagine having to move the game from LA to Dallas or AT&T, one of these other remote locations? That would be like crazy. So they looking at that. They're looking at all options.
They got to be ready for anything. Well, Byron, again, thanks for coming in as you do every Sunday, breaking down the NFL with us. Folks, Byron is on J&B Talking Shops Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central on your Roku TV. So if you got a Roku channel, download, search for Northeast Streaming Sports, and you'll find Jim Jeffcoat and Byron Williams.
Byron
what you about to say, Jack? I know you want to say
Byron's a real team guy's a player. I could tell because the way he winces about how the Giants are doing now, I could tell he took losing really hard as a player. So I could tell he put the team ahead of himself, even though he still wanted the ball all the time.
I hit a couple of my incentives a couple of times, so I was happy about that. But yeah, you know, if you're a player in competitive, you want that ball, and of course you want to make some highlight tapes, you know, some moves and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Can you dance? Can you dance, Jack?
I tried it once. I took disco lessons. I took the 10 lessons. Then the guy wanted to sign me up for another 10, but I thought I'm not going to throw my money away again. I just didn't have it.
Yeah. The only dancing he did might have been in the ring when he was a boxer. That's it, Byron.
Oh, I danced well in the ring. I had good footwork. Yeah.
Quick feet, baby. The quick feet.
There you go, Byron. Have a great Friday and weekend, my friend.
All right, thank you guys. Have a great week.
Take care. So there you go, folks. Byron Williams, our NFL analyst, comes with us every Sunday around 8:30. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back on the other side with TGI Sports Talk host Keith Angle. So stay tuned as we start talking a little bit about the Knicks, the Patriots, college sports, all kinds of stuff. Be right back after these messages.
You worked too hard, you ate too much, the cheesecake made you greedy. Let your aching head and stomach hear this message from old Speedy. Alka-Seltzer, plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. Those Speedy bubbles relieve your upset stomach and headache fast. For acid indigestion alone, Alka-Seltzer Gold. Oh, what a relief it is. What a relief.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
It certainly is a big bun. It's a very big bun. Big fluffy bun. It's a very big fluffy bun.
Where's the beef?
Some hamburger places give you a lot less beef on a lot of bun.
Where's the beef?
At Wendy's, we serve a hamburger we modestly call a single. And Wendy's single has more beef than the Whopper or Big Mac. At Wendy's, you get more beef and less bun.
Hey, where's the beef? I don't think there's anybody back there.
You want something better. You're Wendy's kind of people.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to...
Oh,
My baloney has a first name. It's O-S-C-A-R. My baloney has a second name. It's M-A-Y-E-R. Oh, I love to eat it every day. And if you ask me why, I'll say, 'cause Oscar Mayer has a way with B-L-O-G-N-A.
Oscar Mayer, the first name in Bologna.
How's that?
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're on live Thursday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. I'm your host, Mac, with my co-host, Jack Hirsch. Jack, my assistant producer, the lovely Linda, just told me that I said it was Sunday twice. So, as you see, I don't know what day it is. I'm not sure who the person's name involved is. So I'm starting off today with a really big bang, Jack.
I don't listen to half of what you say, Max, so I don't care. So maybe that comes under the half that I don't listen to mistakes. Otherwise, I would.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my producer has straightened me out and told me what day it actually is, which helps out a lot as I introduce guests and stuff like that.
Well, you can't wait till Sunday, Mac. I mean, you've been looking forward to it. And
Thank you very much for the built-in excuse, Jack. I love it. And you are right. I can't wait for Sunday. Up here, it's been snowing like crazy where I'm at, up almost to 12 inches. So we've had up here in the Northeast from the area I'm at, we're pretty much blanketed in snow. And, what are you going to do? It's the Northeast. It's supposed to snow in winter. So that's the way it is. And there ain't nothing like football in the snow, Jack. I don't care what you say. That is the great.
Listen, that's going to be one of our debate questions. We won't give the answers to let our viewers know tomorrow. Should the schedules be stacked according to warm or cold weather cities? For example, and we're not going to give our answers now, should the Green Bay Packers play most of their home games in September and October? When it's, warmer, not as cold in Green Bay as it would be in November, December. Should the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play most of their home games in November and December, not when it's hot and muggy like in September and maybe October? It's just a thought. Should the schedules be stacked?
And you know the answer to that by me already.
Well, listen, we'll save that tomorrow. People have to tune in. And
we will. We'll save it for tomorrow. Never mind. We got Keith Angle that just came in from TGI Sports. He will be on Roku this afternoon at 12. So if you got your Roku channel, and Northeast Streaming Sports is downloaded, you'll be able to see Keith at 12 noon, where he'll go through his great show. I mean, Keith Angle has he has 3 shows a week that I know. Plus he does a vlog. It's a video. And he does a great job with all of them, covering football, baseball, basketball. He's all over the place, but does a great job. Let's bring him up and see how Keith is doing today.
I am very unknowledgeable on a lot of topics.
Yes. Well, at least do you know what today is, Keith? What's today?
Today is, what is today? I'm trying to think of the date. January 7th. I should know this.
There you go.
What
Friday.
is it?
It's Friday.
Oh, it's Friday.
I've called it Sunday twice today. So
I did know it was Friday. Yes, I thought you were sticking me with some kind of anniversary I didn't know about.
No. Well, all right. Thanks a lot, Keith. I thought you were going to come to my
75th anniversary on this show today, I think.
Yeah, well,
January 7th. Wow, the days went quick. It was just last Saturday, New Year's Day. I covered a big boxing show in 7 days. Gone by.
Flying by. You got a lot of snow where you're at too, Keith?
Not a lot, 2 or 3 inches. That's about it. Now maybe we're going to get 4. We're not going to get a lot. You guys, I think west of us are going to get more. Down the city, I know Carlos just told me they had like 1.5 foot in the city. So
yeah, we're about at 12 where I'm at. So
yeah,
Sunday high is 79 where I'm at.
Yeah. How come what's Jack doing on a show in the wintertime?
I don't know. To brag in a short sleeve shirt. So Keith, a lot of interesting things going on here in the world of sports here, especially with the stuff you cover. I mean, we've got a couple things. We'll talk a little bit first about the Knicks and the Celtics. Exciting game last night. The Knicks have won 2 in a row. Break them up. I mean, that's it. They're making their run now. But exciting. The exciting game. Fournier finally gets a little hot against his old team, pours in 41 points. And I didn't see Kemba Walker. I didn't see Quickly had a pretty good game. So did Barrett. So did Randall, of course. But I didn't see a couple of the other ones.
I think Kemba Walker's temporarily out. That he wasn't a factor. Yeah.
Yeah, he was out. He didn't play at all.
Yeah, he wasn't quite as effective as he had been last night, but Barrett stepped up big time last night, played well, and Randall didn't have his best game last night. And, listen, one of the things I'm really not happy about is his giving the thumbs down to the booing and stuff.
Yeah.
That stuff doesn't help you get out of slumps. It doesn't help get the fans on your side. Just take your lumps and walk off the court. I hate to see that stuff. Especially in New York, it's hard to win guys back once you do stuff like that, So, but look, the team's playing better, 6-4 in the last 10. What's he got? What's Robert got there?
Robert's saying, "Rub it in, Jack." 5 inches of snow here in Nashville. So,
I know some people in Tennessee got even more than that. So,
Robert Butler there on Sports Scope, of course.
Guys, Kemba Walker was out. He wasn't in last.
He said he didn't play. I said he didn't play.
Right. But you know what gets me too, guys? Fournier plays the game of his life, maybe the best game of his career, I would guess. And Barrett, who had a poor game, hits one shot at the end, and he's getting all the headlines. Well, shouldn't we have better priorities?
Well, again, what you do in clutch time is important, yes, but I agree that, I'm not getting excited over Fournier's 41 points last night because he scored 0 the game before. So, let's.
Yeah, he's a street player. I mean, he gets hot sometimes, and sometimes he's cold. Reminds me a little bit about of Starks in his day. Could either hit you with 40 or hit you with 2. It's just that's how he's feeling. But the Knicks again, they're one game below 500. Still plenty of time to go. Maybe they get lucky and move up into the top 6. I don't see it, but we'll see what happens. Right?
Still only a couple games out of that 6th spot, so it's not like the end of the world here. But they got to get more consistent. Maybe again 6-4 in the last 10 is the most consistent they've been all year, probably. Yeah. So they're starting to show some life. I like Quickly. I like what Quickly's been bringing to the team since he came back, and it's going to be interesting. I don't know how I missed Walker. I think I was looking at the box score from the game before. I think that's why I was looking at it.
Listen, I think it's Sunday, so I can't say nothing to you right now.
I'll tell you, that was the most fun game I've seen in a while towards the end. Seeing the way the crowd got into it, it was like the crowd was part of the game. It was like pure fun. I felt like watching it. It was like a high school gym going back and forth with the students. People were hugging one another in the crowd. It was a lot of fun to watch that Knick come back.
Well, the Garden fans can be like that, right? That's why it's such a great place to play, especially more so when you're winning, obviously. But the crowd is like the 6th man there, and they can certainly pick the team up, which is why Randall doesn't need to do the stuff he did.
Keith, don't sweat it. Don't sweat that thing. Don't sweat it. That's just.
Don't disrespect fans. They pay the money to come and watch you play. Don't disrespect.
Yeah, they used to. I don't know about that they do now. I think maybe the networks pay the salaries, but that's okay. But I agree with you. You just play basketball and don't worry about the other stuff. So let's get to college sports real quick, right? You have, of course, the big game Monday. We saw the game already. Alabama threw on Georgia pretty well. I don't expect them to be able to do that. This time, I think Georgia will be ready for them. And in my opinion, Georgia beats Alabama for the national championship.
I've got Georgia. I like Georgia. I think it says something, and the odds makers have made them a 3.5 point favorite, which, again, it doesn't mean nobody thinks they're 3 points better necessarily. The odds are just to get money bet on both sides. And I really thought if the people in the know thought that Alabama was a sure thing here, the line would be flipped because they'd want money on Georgia. I like Georgia a lot here, and the key for them is going to be Stetson Bennett needs to really play well and be mistake-free, and they need to get some pressure on Bryce what the hell's his name? Bryce Young, and contain him a little bit. You're not going to stop him, right? But you got to contain him a little bit. I think Georgia got out of what they like to do in that SEC championship game. They got behind early, which, again, is a key here. But I see Georgia rebounding here, and Kirby Smart needs to get the I can't beat Nick Saban monkey off his back. And this is going to be one of his better opportunities to do so, because this isn't a vintage Alabama Nick Saban team. as you know, these are the best two teams in the country. I have no doubt about it. But this Alabama team is certainly beatable, as we've seen this year.
You know, we had Jim Jeff going on talking Sunday a little bit. You might even been part of the conversation where we were talking what the big advantage the SEC, especially Alabama and Georgia this year have, and it's the size of the line, right? Their lines, their defensive lines and offensive lines are grown men, and they're playing against pretty much kids. I mean, if you look at the sizes when they line up against each other, that's why Alabama just ran the ball against Cincinnati. There's no way they could really stop them. I mean, they made some plays, but for the most part, they just imposed their will. And the same thing with Georgia. I mean, Georgia, you're not going to run the ball on that big defensive line. They're going to run the ball on you, whether you like it or not. It's just a huge advantage on the lines that they have in the SEC. Keith.
Well, you saw it. It was shocking to see because, you know, again, I thought Cincinnati was a good football team, and I don't think Cincinnati's got anything to be embarrassed about with their effort last week. They were in the game for three quarters. Their offense didn't perform, but what really struck me, Mac, to go to your point, is during the pregame, looking at the difference in the size of the kids, especially in the trenches. It's like men against boys in a lot of matchups, and that was a lot of the key. And you're right, the SEC's way ahead of, especially the Group of Five teams. This was a good thing for the Group of Fives, but they still got a little ways to go to catch up to the big boys for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you know what it remind me of, Keith, a lot is like when the military schools, which their average size is about 250, going up against 320 pounders, and they got to use that triple option to win the game. They got to kind of fool them. And even though they're in great shape, eventually as the game wears on, I mean, them big bodies hitting you all the time is going to kind of wear you down a little bit. And there's really nothing you can do about it, except maybe run a triple option to try to fool them.
It's a good point. It's going to be very interesting to see. Again, these conference dominations have been a cyclical thing through history, basically, right? A conference will dominate for 4 or 5 years. It'll be the Big Ten, the Pac-10, the SEC, and the ACC, and then it rotates. This SEC cycle, though, has been about 15 years, really, where they've been dominate conference in NCAA football. And I don't know if it's going to end anytime soon.
Now with the new teams joining there, Keith, I don't think so either. I expect more teams to go over there too. I really do. I expect the bigger teams to go over there just for recruiting purposes alone. So I wouldn't be surprised in a couple of years seeing Ohio State, maybe Clemson go to the SEC. I wouldn't be surprised at that at all.
Well, if Ohio State leaves the Big Ten, then everything's up for grabs in all of college football. So
I agree. So we haven't talked with you about college basketball yet this year, really. I know you follow that just as much as the football. The biggest game I saw yesterday was Indiana beating Ohio State that was ranked. I'm not surprised Indiana can beat anybody. Indiana always has a strong program over there. Any surprises you've seen so far early in the year?
I thought St. John's was going to be a little bit better. Their record's not bad. They're not playing great basketball, and I thought with some of the kids that they returned and some of the people they brought in, they would have a better showing. They still can't play with the really big guys yet. Who else has surprised me? I'm just starting to dive into this, and we're going to, by the way, pivot a little bit on Wednesday nights. We'll be doing more college basketball along with college football into the season. So just to keep you guys abreast of that. What else has surprised me? I guess as I look quickly, the fact that Arizona is 10-1 is a bit of a surprise. They've been a bit disappointment here for a few years and still under some investigation from the not just the NCAA but the FBI still. What else is going on? Alabama staying strong. Providence has been a bit of a surprise. It's hard to look at these preseason rankings, or not these preseason, but the pre-conference schedule rankings and get too excited, right? Because you're going to see a lot of teams, maybe like Providence, who's a good basketball team, but is that 10-1 record going to stand up and when or 13-1 going to stand up when they get into the conference and start playing, better competition and whatnot? Syracuse has been a bit of a disappointment to me this year. I thought they were going to be an improved team, and so far in non-conference play, they have not been setting the world on fire either. And they're going to, being in the ACC now, there's no nights off in the ACC really. So Syracuse could be in for a bit of a tough year again, which makes me wonder how long Jim Boeheim's going to be sticking around there.
Did he say one more year and 1 more year's turning into more?
Yeah, look, he said 1 more year like 8 years ago too, before his top assistant Hopkins went off to Washington.
Speaking of the Big East, do you think they're ever going to get back to the glory days, or that's just an aberration what went on, the days of Georgetown, St. John's, Syracuse?
It'll never be what it was, just because there wasn't a proliferation of games on TV. It was the Big East was a TV league. That's what put it together, right? And Dave Gavitt was just brilliant in the way he put that league together. And I don't think we'll ever see that again, just because college basketball's changed so much, and it's changed a lot because of what the Big East did back in the early '80s and the success that they had.
We had 4-year players then too, and that was a major difference then. So we got so much more familiar with them. They actually had a college career. Now they have more or less a college stopover.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate part of the game today. It's hard to really get invested into teams because they change over so much from year to year. Not just kids staying a year and leaving, but now the transfer portal has opened up a whole new avenue for kids to move around at their free will. And it's changed the game of all of college sports, really, not just basketball, but football and baseball. Something we don't talk a lot about is college baseball, but this transfer portal thing hasn't affected just these major sports. It's all of the sports. So
I love the transfer portal. It reminds me of the days of watching Star Trek. So I just love the name of the transfer portal.
Everybody's a free agent every year. It's, where else can you have that? You don't have that anywhere else in society, probably. Well, maybe in real jobs, I guess you can, if you don't have a contract, but in professional sports, you got a contract. You have to stay there, right? I mean,
they do have ops and stuff like that. But, again, college football has been for the universities for so long, and this is kind of, maybe it's a time for the kids to have their say too, because if the coaches can move, why can't the kids move? And that's the biggest question I have. And that's the biggest point I made on that.
Good point. One thing to think about with college basketball too, last year what was really interesting was the Blue Bloods were really not playing well. Duke wasn't good. Kentucky wasn't good. Carolina wasn't good. Well, Duke's back for sure. They're second in the country. Kentucky's in the top 15 anyway, and we're going to see a return to some of the Blue Bloods, I think, being up in where we're used to seeing the stratosphere we're used to seeing them, I think, going forward.
Yeah, I do agree with that a little bit. I don't know about Kentucky, but I do agree definitely with Duke. Let's get to the Patriots in the scenario. We won't talk about the game too much, but there's a scenario where the Patriots still can win the division title. It's a long shot. The Jets have to beat Buffalo.
Jets.
And the Patriots have got to beat Miami, and that's not going to be easy. And it's sure not going to be easy for the Jets to beat Buffalo. I mean, I wouldn't be totally shocked if either of those things happened, especially if Miami could beat the Patriots. I think Miami, with a couple of mistakes by the Patriots, could give them a real tight game and maybe pull it out. Jets and Buffalo, maybe not as much, but anything could happen. So at least you guys you're in the playoffs, and you still have a shot at the division title at the end of the year, which is a lot more than what a lot of people thought at the beginning of the year, Keith.
Yeah, definitely much more than even I thought. I thought we'd be battling for a wild card spot this last weekend. That's wrapped up. And I mean, if they don't win the division, I guess their wild card ranking could change. That's just going to change who you play. And I'll be honest with you, if we can't win the division, I'd rather stay where we are and play Buffalo in the first round, and not a team like Cincinnati that's got a really good running game to go along with a really good passing game. Young team, but I still might rather play Buffalo. Also, don't forget, the Patriots still have an outside shot of having that number 1 seed. That's not gone yet either. If Kansas City were to lose to Tennessee, which is not beyond the realm of possibility, and the Jets beat the Bills, which is much further out there.
Well, I don't think Kansas City's playing the Tennessee Titans. They're
playing Denver. You mean if Tennessee loses and Kansas City loses? I don't think there's any scenario.
Tennessee, that's right. They both have to lose. I'm sorry. They both have to lose, right? So,
but let me just say this, Keith. What I mentioned to Mac earlier in the show, and I mentioned it in another show, For those who don't think that certain scenarios could take place with the Patriots winning the division, feeling the Jets have no shot with Buffalo. Remember a couple of years ago in Miami, who got annihilated by New England early in the year. They went into New England, and New England had a bye at stake in the first round. And they actually lost to the Dolphins. So things like that do happen.
Yeah, and it led to Tom Brady's last game, losing to the Titans in the first round. It's funny too. The Patriots, in some ways this year, may be better off not winning the division because the only advantage is you're going to get a game at home, at least a game at home. But the Patriots have not been as good as at home as on the road this year. I still think they prefer to play at home. I mean, listen. I don't. Keith, I don't believe in all that nonsense. Who plays better at home, especially when it comes to playoffs? It doesn't matter anymore. That's all out the window. It's a different speed. It's a different game. People are, some teams do get blown out, and that's when everything goes wrong. But normally, both teams are fired up. It don't matter where you play. This is your shot. This is your shot to get to Super Bowl, and that's what they're thinking. You definitely have an advantage sleeping in your own bed, not in a hotel. Where Bill Belichick can pull fire alarms in the middle of the night and get you out in the street. Yes.
I will say this: the Patriots are, in a way, they're playing with house money at this point. Because they can get eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. And the year's been a success because it means they gathered the franchise again and that they're back. But then again, about 4 weeks ago when the Patriots won that great run, a lot of people were favoring them to maybe go to the Super Bowl. That's how good they were looking. So there's kind of mixed feelings. But when you look at what was expected at the beginning of the season, the year, I think, has been a success no matter what.
Oh, I agree with all the new bodies that they brought in and integrating a rookie quarterback into this system, which is not an easy system to learn. And they've given him the tools to succeed. I think this is a successful season right now. The only thing that would damper it for me is going into the playoffs and get thoroughly embarrassed, which I do not think will happen. I think the AFC is wide open. I mean, I think any one of these teams that makes the playoffs could probably go to the Super Bowl, to be honest with you, this year. Nobody's that good.
We'll see about that. I mean, I kind of think Kansas City is still, if not Tennessee, are still a little bit better than most teams. So we'll see what happens. You're right. Anything can happen. Any game. Wildcard teams have won the Super Bowl before, Keith. It's happened not too long ago.
I will tell you, Mike Vrabel, in my mind, has got to be getting great consideration, along with Bill Belichick, for Coach of the Year, because for him to keep that team in contention for the first seed, the number one seed in the AFC, without Derrick Henry for the last 6 weeks or 2 months, however long it's been, is an amazing job, I think.
Let's hold off 1 more week. If they lose to Houston, that would be 2 losses to Houston and a loss to the Jets.
Would be bad.
Yes,
that would be bad.
Yes.
I think Henry
lose the bye. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for coming in as you do every Friday, updating us on all the sports, and we'll see you on Sunday with your preview of the actual game between the Patriots and Dolphins, which I think could be a very good one. So
it's going to be a burner. The Dolphins have had the Patriots number a little bit here, so.
They sure have. So, Keith, we'll let you go. Take a quick break. And, folks, right after we're back, the Philly sports guy himself in control of the NFC East show last night, which he belongs as the show went off miraculously. So we'll be back with Pags right after these breaks. Keith, again, have a great Friday today.
You guys enjoy the weekend. See you.
All right, my friend. So there you go, folks. Keith Engel with TGI Sports. And I finally got the day right, which helps me out a lot. We'll be right back after these messages with the Philly sports guy himself. A couple of minutes, folks.
It's our kind of place. It's such a happy place. Happy place. A clean and snappy place. McDonald's is our kind of place. It's such a happy place. McDonald's is our kind of place. Our kind of place.
McDonald's believes in getting food to your kids before they get to each other. Such good food, too. McDonald's famous French fries, triple thick creamy shakes, lean, beefy cheeseburgers and hamburgers, icy cold soft drinks. And here's a plus, spill-proof lids on all beverages. Another plus, napkins that are big as a bib. Quality, cleanliness, extra care service. That's McDonald's. A total value that's unmatched anywhere.
McDonald's is our kind of place. It's such a happy place. McDonald's is our kind of place.
Your kind of place.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Infoline. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
Shaper is the one bit to have when you're having more than one. Shaper pleasure doesn't fade even when your thirst is done. The most rewarding flavor in this man's world for people who are having fun. Shaper is the one bit to have when you're having more than one.
Ever wonder what makes Schaefer the one beer to have when you're having more than one? One reason is more than one fermentation. Most brewers just ferment their beer once, but Schaefer is fermented twice. Once to make it beer, and twice to make it Schaefer. The one beer with flavor so fine, it keeps shining through glass after frosty glass. More than one fermentation is one reason, but of course there's more than one reason behind the one beer to have when you're having more than one.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
Alex is just...
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get any...
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're on live Thursday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. This is our Friday show. I'm going to get it right, Jack. I don't care. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, Jack Hirsch, Hall of Fame boxing writer, and also the guru of our sports show here, as he knows more about sports than Sports Center's broadcasters all put together, and that's in his mind.
That's a slight exaggeration, Mac, but you know, I usually keep my mouth shut when you say that. I kind of like soak it in, you know.
Yes.
Sometimes some of us live a lie from time to time.
Yes, and you soak it in just like a sponge, Jack. Let's bring up the Philly sports guys. We talk about Philly sports here for this segment. Good morning, Pags. How you doing?
Mac, you should say congratulations, Pags, not good morning, Pags. Congratulations, Pags, on the Eagles making the playoffs. And now the mindset's got to be, what do the Eagles need to do to win the Super Bowl? Because they're in the party. They're in the door. They're at the party. What are they going to do at the party? Now, just being at the party is not enough at this point.
So you're asking me to start off this show what they need to do to win the Super Bowl? They need an act of God, I think. Let's be for real. Let's be for real. I think that the fact that they're there. Hey, listen. Hey, you guys all made fun of me when I said that they were going to go 9-8 and possibly 10-7 or 11-6. You guys all made fun of me. Here it is.
Listening to Matt.
They proved me right. They proved me right. And I didn't think that. Exactly. I listen. I have it saved for when you guys did that to me initially.
No, we got to bring Joe Santoliquito back on the show, my buddy, because he had a debate with Pags on where the Eagles were going to go, and clearly Pags, wins this. I mean, clearly. I mean, I love Joe. He's a great guy, but Pags kicked his rear end in that debate as the evidence came out. So we got to give Pags his due. I'll let Joe know that. I don't think Joe's anxious to come on.
I don't think so either.
But he's the type of guy who would.
Yes.
If I asked him to.
Yeah, because Joe did say, you're just a fan. You don't know what you're talking about. But it turns to be that the sports writer himself was, of course, upset by the Philly sports guy. Who else would?
And there's plenty of them out there that were dead wrong about this team. So it took them a while. Obviously, at 2-5, you never thought that they would have wound up here. But I did say, I'm like, this was the hard part of the season. Now comes the easier part of the schedule. All we have to do is start to put some things together, and you saw them starting to make the turn. So it's not a surprise that they've been on this winning streak, of sorts. Obviously, this week is not as important, which is a shame because it is Dallas week. That usually has a lot more vigor in this city. But the fact that this game doesn't really mean as much and that half our team has COVID is,
I will say this. For the NFC, Nick Sirianni, in my book, is Coach of the Year for the NFC. If I have to have an NFC Coach of the Year, I don't see who you put ahead of Nick Sirianni.
I absolutely agree. I feel that Dallas had the opportunity. McCarthy definitely had the opportunity to win Coach of the Year and was probably the front runner about 4 weeks ago. And then you just watch them kind of spiral a little bit. I am interested to see how they handle the first week of the playoffs, because it now looks like that there's no chance that we're going to be playing them. And I thought that we'd be playing back to back. It looks like right now that we're going to be going to LA. Of course, they got their last week of the season against San Francisco, and San Francisco needs the win to be able to get in, where if they lose, the Saints it opens the door for the Saints to get in. Right. So, and if the Saints get in, that means we're going to Tampa.
Right.
And I know that they got Tom Brady down there, but they are turning into a little bit of a hot mess. And I would love and relish the opportunity to go back and play Tampa again and go down to Tampa and play them there. I think that out of all the teams that we could play, between LA and Tampa, I'd much rather play Tampa, because I think Tampa we're better suited for Tampa and our running game, where I think LA's defensive line, that Von Miller trade that hasn't really shown much. The one thing that they have done is they've gotten considerably better against the run. And I think that that's the one thing that the Rams would have over us that Tampa Bay does not.
And Mick Akins will be back with the Rams.
Let's look at that scenario. All right, Pags. Say San Fran loses to the Rams, which is quite possible.
Right.
And New Orleans gets in, and you play the Buccaneers. I think you have a good shot at the Bucs. I mean, they got Tom Brady, which means that at the end, if they're in the game, if Tampa Bay is even close, that's going to be bad for the Eagles. But the Rams themselves,
we talk about the Rams right now. We talked about them in the beginning of the year, like they were going to the Super Bowl. They got Matt Stafford. They picked up Von Miller. They put everything in the middle of the table, but that doesn't guarantee anything. So I don't think your odds against the Rams are much worse than against the Bucs because listen, Tom Brady's easily better than Matt Stafford. And Tampa Bay has
by far.
Tampa Bay's receiving core, even without Antonio Brown, is one of the best in the league. If you count tight ends, Evans, all those guys, they got a great receiving core and a better running game than the Rams with Dillon and Jones. I mean, you look at that running game is better than the Rams running game. So I don't think.
I'll be honest. There's one matchup that I look at more importantly than anything else, and that's offensive and defensive line matchup. And I feel that our offensive line and our defensive line matches up much better with Tampa Bay's offensive and defensive line than it does with the Rams' offensive and defensive line. I feel that I don't feel that Stafford's the answer. I still think that Stafford, my pick for the NFC Championship is probably, I think it's going to be the Rams in Green Bay. And I still think that the Rams aren't going to be strong enough to beat Green Bay because Stafford wilts at certain times, and I think that against Green Bay, that it's a distinct possibility, just because he's had he hasn't won much in Green Bay, so that history starts to come back into play a little bit. I feel that, like I said, just in that alone, everything else has got to fall into place too. You're right. Tom Brady is the best that's ever played this game. And he knows a lot about this game. And when they came up here, it was like they were playing games with us, that they didn't even try for a half. And we came back up. And then when they needed to, turn the car back on again, all he did was do a 7-minute drive to win the game. You know what I mean? To put the game away.
And I don't know if Stafford could do that. And I don't know if Stafford could do that yet. We'll find out. It's going to be, to me, this is a really interesting playoff year. This is an interesting year, period. This is one of the most exciting years I can remember in a while because, anything can happen, we know. And there's different matchups that are going to be won and lost in different ways. It doesn't matter if you've got the better team on paper. It's going to be a lot to do with the teams you play and the matchups in those games. It's really going to be exciting this year, Pegs. I really think that.
I agree. And that's why some of this Antonio Brown situation really comes into play because it creates drama where there wasn't any before. So I just, there's distraction over in Tampa Bay, and now they got to play a playoff game. And, when you think of the wild card last year and how Washington was really just, a couple of plays away from beating them, I think that the Eagles could absolutely do that. And wouldn't that be a big, cementation of, Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni to beat, the greatest of all time in terms of the quarterback and the defending Super Bowl champions in the playoffs. That would be something to do. I can't guarantee that it's going to be done. I'm happy to be here. And I'm happy that the experience that they're going to be getting. But once you win that game, then you got to go to Green Bay, and it's going to be 8 degrees and snowy, and that's going to be a tough game to play too. It's going to be a tough game for me to go to, because I'm going to be, that's cold. That's cold up there. So it's going to be cold this weekend. This Saturday night, it's going to be 22 degrees at game time.
Yeah.
So,
I just love the things. And, you talk about Antonio Brown. That might galvanize the Bucs too. That may make them come out and play together more. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there as far as how the Bucs react to all this nonsense. So let's talk a little bit about the 76ers. 76ers have won, I think, 5 or 6 in a row. They're in the 5th position now. Embiid's playing well again. He's starting to turn it on again. I love Maxey. I love that dude. I think that's one of the biggest surprises of the season, the way he's been playing for Philadelphia, even when Embiid wasn't there. So what are you projecting here? I don't know if the 76ers right now have the team to win the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think they do. I think they need one more piece, Bags.
Maybe your forward played a little bit better. His name escapes me right now, but he played a little bit better last night.
Tobias Harris.
Yeah, you're just missing that one piece. And if you can pick up a one piece there, I think you guys can really make a run at the finals this year.
You know, I hate to say this. I thought that Ben Simmons getting engaged was going to create a certain type of drama that gets him back on the court. That it was going to be like, you know what? My life has changed a little bit. The past is the past. Let's move forward. And I was hoping that there was going to be a little bit of that and that he was going to get back on the court. Now, I don't know if the Sixers even want him back on the court right now, but that shoe has got to drop. And without that shoe dropping, there's going to be a lot of, I don't think that they're going to have enough. But I thought maybe him getting engaged and him doing like all this off the court stuff that's going on would culminate with, hey, I just bought her a ring. I'm getting fined. It's time to put this to bed. It's time to finally put this to bed and let me come back and play. Because obviously him playing makes the rest of the team better. And you can't help but say that is 100% true. Even, who cares that you don't make a foul shot? Who cares you don't want to shoot the ball?
Tags, but how would he be received by the fans if he did come back? And how would he be received if he got off to a bumpy start?
Well, he's going to get off to a bumpy start because he hasn't been on the court forever. But, and I think about, so most recently, Jalen Reagor has been getting a tremendous amount of boos. Every time they mention his name, the Phillies fans have been booing him. And all he had to do was have a good return. And he had a good return. All of a sudden, they started cheering for him. Philly fans want to see the effort. So, yes, he's going to have to take some of his licks. He's going to have some earplugs in so that he doesn't hear the stuff that's going to be yelled at him initially. But, and have his thick skin on. But I think that once he's back on the court and he's doing the things that he does well, and all of a sudden the team starts to, move up in the standings, there would be a difference, very quickly. It wouldn't take as long as you think. I think that, yes, he's definitely got to wear a coat of thick skin, to definitely come back on the court. But ultimately, as long as he was showing effort, doing the things he needs to do, and the team started winning in a big way, that it would be a big difference. And all of a sudden you'd see him not be booed anymore. And people forget. People forget quick.
I mean, listen, you win, and the reason for that winning, you'll definitely turn around the fans' minds. As you saw with Aaron Rodgers this year, what he did before the season. I mean, they're winning, they're playing well, and, all that stuff that was done in the beginning of the season is forgiven. And then just go win a Super Bowl. So definitely, I agree with you, Pags. Real quick with the Flyers, they lost to Pittsburgh last night. Pittsburgh's hot as heck right now. They're on fire, Pags. I think they won like 9 in a row or something.
10 in a row.
They beat the Flyers 6-2. I know they're your rivals, but you got to give them credit. Pittsburgh's playing their butts off right now.
So, I mean, literally, we had everybody was out with COVID. So, and not to make excuses. I mean, I was at that game yesterday, and Pittsburgh is a good team. There was a lot of scoring depth. They had, it seemed like every guy that was scoring had scored 15 or 17 goals in the season so far.
Yeah.
So, and they weren't named Sidney Crosby, and Malkin wasn't in the game. So there was a lot of scoring. They have a lot of scoring depth right now. Pittsburgh is always good in the regular season. And then when it comes to the postseason, they seem to shrivel up. That they turn that switch on too early. Now, is that going to be the same this year? There is, a general manager over on that side who I'm very familiar with, and he's a tough general manager to play for. And he, from what I understand from that franchise in general, before he got there, it was a little lax, and he is anything but lax. You are standing at attention all the time when you're in his presence over there, because he demands a certain type of play and a certain type of respect. And I got to imagine that is starting to resonate a little bit. So when you go from the substitute teacher where everybody is, playing games and doing their thing, and then you get the real teacher that comes in here who's real strict, all of a sudden everybody stands up straight and sits up tight in their desk and does their work better. That I feel like that there's some of that going on. And I don't know how well it'll resonate into the playoffs, but right now they are a pretty, well-coached, well-playing team.
Yeah, and the
Have
Flyers.
the Flyers been better off since they moved on from AV as coach?
Yes and no. The power play and the penalty kill still not up to snuff. They've given up a lot of shorthanded goals. I mean, it seems like every time I'm watching it that they're giving up a shorthanded goal, and I think that goes with system. I am not real excited about this coach. It's, I know that he is somebody who came from the Minnesota Wild, so he's got ties to the general manager. I love this team. I'm not happy with the directions that they have been going, and ultimately it's going to be hard for them to turn it on enough to be able to go to the playoffs. I don't know that they've got it in them. I just don't know.
Well, season's still young, and as they say, but man, these games do count in the end. That's for sure. Pags, great job on the NFC East show last night. Watched it on Roku TV. You guys did a great job as always over there. Great film editing and stuff like that. And folks, as I've told you, we are on Roku TV right now. We're on right now live, and Pags has a great show with Sneaky G-Man and a couple True Blue and the Hog Farmer or whoever the Washington guy is, I forget. But they have a great show over there if you like the NFC East. I don't know what he's going to do when the season's over. Maybe he changes it to, I don't know, Big East or something. I don't know. But good job over there. And, I can't wait for you to get your other shows up and going as you had before. And check on the Roku channel on the VOD categories, videos on demand. We got Pags with his man caves. I have a quick one on him doing his Philly sports guy shtick with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's all over the place. I know he can't wait for the playoffs and either go to Dallas or wherever you're going. I know you're gonna have a blast with that. Even if you go to Green Bay, I know you have a great time doing that. You're just
so yeah. Absolutely, we're gonna be. I'm going wherever they're going. So yeah. I am one of the very few fans that is fortunate enough to have gone to all 16 games so far. We'll be going to the 17th on Saturday. Excuse me. And the playoff games, however long we're in the playoffs, I'll be at every playoff game. I feel like that maybe I should just be put on the salary. But
my highlight was when you were in Detroit this season. When you were in the parking lot tailgating, I could tell the Lion fans, they didn't have it in them. I knew. Seeing you in the parking lot, I figured now the Eagles got to beat them. They were just timid, the Lion fans. When they're patting you on the back, trying to make it nice, they should have showed a little more fight.
I tell you, you say that, but I tell you, that fan base has been through a tremendous amount. Obviously, being a Detroit Lions fan is not easy at all. And they are as true as they can be. I swear, I've made a lot of friends from that tailgate and just in general from going to drafts and such like that. And it really is amazing to me how a team can be so inept and yet a fan base be so galvanized to that team that they don't quit. They show up every week. They have a tailgate where they bring a hot tub and they make the water blue and they go swimming in the hot tub before they go into the game. That's a very unique tailgate. And like you said, they've got they have a great fan base. It's interesting to me how, like, when Buffalo wasn't good for so long and the Buffalo Mafia still showed up, the Lion Pride still shows up. The Cleveland Browns fans are still showing up, and they had one good season, and now they're back in, not in the playoffs again. And that these working, blue collar, these blue collar fan bases and how galvanized they are to their teams. Amongst everything else, I am a fan of fans. And I love it when fans show passion for their team. We all get paid the same amount to be fans of our team, all the same amount. So, which is zero. We all get paid nothing. In fact, we pay to be fans of these teams. And to be able to go there and get beat up and get beat up and get beat up and still show up. It's like having to give the bully the lunch money, every week, and you still show up.
I'm a Jet fan. I can relate. Believe me, I've been there the last half century.
Exactly. You used to have hair, and the Jets make you pull your hair all out.
Yeah, yes. Pags, I love having you on the show every week. We'll see you Sunday with the actual game.
Hey, I got a quick question for you, because I know we haven't spoken about this much at all, but I want to get your guys' opinion. Are we going to have a baseball season?
Well,
Let me say this. Why are they hiring coaches and managers if there's a lockout? I thought there's not allowed to be any activity. Yeah, I think there will be. Everything will work out. The regular season will get on.
They're going to wait.
Why are they hiring now?
Listen, every time this happens, they wait till the last minute to do things. They're not going to get it done right now. That's for sure. But soon, maybe even a little bit in the preseason, they'll come to an understanding and the games will go off. There's too much money involved for both sides not to do something. And the longer they're out, both sides lose money, and I don't care what they got in the war chest. So they'll do something before the season starts. That's for sure.
Well, I get that question asked to me a lot, and the lack of inactivity between the collective bargaining, whatever it is. I don't know if it's the CBA or the ML, Players Association or whatever, and the owners, and the way that the Scherzer contract was really the nail in the coffin to this. And how is it that you backpedal from that? Like, how do you go backwards and say, listen, these contracts aren't worth this much? I mean, by the end of Mike Trout's contract, he's going to own the Angels.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's and how do you backtrack from that? I think of when they were paying Mario Lemieux so much money in Pittsburgh that they didn't have, that he became the owner. He's like, I'm going to own the team now, and he became a great owner. I mean, obviously he was great at what he does. I think he still has a lot of say in there, even though he doesn't own the team anymore. But I think the contracts have gotten way out of control.
Listen, there's way too much money involved. They're not going to settle this now. They're going to keep posturing, and they're going to see which side gives a little bit more than the other. But there's way too much money to lose if both sides stay out for a long time, especially after the COVID year, last year. They get the year before. They'll come to an agreement, and both sides will claim they either won, and both sides will, claim that they get taken advantage of a little bit. It just makes sense when all that kind of money is at stake that that they're going to come through with something. That's for sure. I don't know exactly when, but the season I think will start.
Well, I'm interested to see all that come about, because it's with all the money that there is going out and such like that. What type of are they going to say, hey, listen, you can only the highest you can go is a 7-year contract? Are you going to put a salary cap on these teams so that the small market teams can compete?
The biggest thing I saw, Pags, from reading about it was the floor cap. That was the biggest thing that they're going to have a big problem with. The players want the floor cap to be moved up. In other words, the teams that are getting money and not spending it on players, just kind of keeping it for a few years and then buying the team, they want it to be more competitive every year. And, of course, that will help them out, too. Is the lower guys get more money, they'll get more money. So that's going to be the big sticking point. I can see why that owners would want that, because the Royals don't have to spend all their money they get every year on a player right now, and this is what they want to try to resolve, and that's going to be the biggest sticking point.
I think it's a little more than that. Some owners have different attitudes. Some of them it's strictly a business. For some of them really do want to win their fans, like Steve Cohen, the Met owner. He really wants to win. It's very important to him. He's a fan. He's always been a Met fan. But you have some owners who they couldn't care that much. It's their bottom line.
Hey, being in Philadelphia, I mean, our ownership always says they want to win, but have always looked at the dollar and the bottom line as the decision maker on whether they've won or not.
Well,
And
like I said,
the fact that they've done that is really
They
frustrating.
signed
a lot of
guys.
people.
They signed Zach Wheeler,
like I said, you know, Jack brings up something that's really doesn't really ain't gonna affect whether they sign or not. It's going to be their floor cap. Owners are tired of giving other owners money when they're not using it for baseball. They're just putting it in their pocket, and that's the biggest problem that the players have, and some of the owners have. So that's the issue before anything else gets settled as far as a salary cap on top or anything. That's the biggest issue that has to be resolved. Once that's resolved, they'll get moving along.
Well, I'm interested to see. I'm also the other thing I wanted to mention real quick, and I know we only got a quick second, so I don't know if you'll be able to really address this. The ESPN Plus and the NHL. Last night's game wasn't televised anywhere, you know, except like on NHL Network where you got to have little snippets. So it was interesting.
Which game?
The Flyers Penguins game. You know, and that's a rivalry that really stems out. In the NHL, there's not many real strong rivalries, and the Flyers and Penguins is one of those big rivalries. To not have that televised at all, to not be able to watch that game at all is ridiculous to me, and that's because of the contract with the ESPN Plus. And I'm wondering how far that's really going to go, because they got 75 games that they're going to show on ESPN Plus. The Flyers only have 4 of those games. And when you only have 4 games out of 75, I mean, the Flyers faithful, and now you're not going to be able to watch those games anywhere else. I think the NHL, I think it's time for Bettman to go. I mean, I'm not a big fan of that commissioner. Out of all the commissioners in all the leagues, I think the one in baseball and the one in hockey both really stink out loud, and they gotta, you know, it's time for them to make big changes.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked at length about big networks, you know, about how they can dictate what you see and what you think and who says what and why things are the way they are. It's the way it is, Pags. I mean, I don't know what you can do about it. When somebody buys the rights to something, they pretty much own it. And you saw with Ken Rosenthal that even if you say something out of the way about the big sports, MLB, NFL, whatever it is, NHL, if you're going to criticize them, you may lose your job. So, you know, it's a shame that the big networks are basically becoming becoming puppets of big sports. And it's just something that is the way it is today. It's not like it used to be where you could turn on your local TV station and watch games like you used to be able to.
It's no longer capitalist. It's almost becoming communist.
Yes. And
that sounds.
Listen, the government gave them the break with the antitrust laws. And when they did that, this is where we are at right now. So it's kind of a shame, but it is the way it is now. Pags, have a great Friday. We'll see you Sunday. And hey, go Eagles, right?
Yeah, I'll have to make sure I wake up on time and everything, because it's going to be a late night for me and it's going to be a cold night for me. And hopefully we win. It doesn't even matter because we're already in. So
there you go. Well,
I'll know where I'm going the following week.
Yes, definitely. Have a great Friday, Pags.
All right, have a great one, guys. Thank you.
All right, buddy. So, folks, there you go. The Philly Sports Guy. I've got to get out of here a little early because I got to clean my car off. So we're going to end the show here. Have a great Friday. We'll see you Saturday in the debate show. We'll see you Sunday on the big football show. Remember, we're on YouTube. We're also on Roku now, folks. If you get a chance, go over there and download the app, and you'll see all the Northeast Streaming sports videos and shows live. Have a great day and have a great weekend, folks. Hope to see you tomorrow.